All right, let's go on to question number 2. And we'll start with the first round champ, RJ. If your top employee gives you an ultimatum of them versus management, whom do you choose and why?
I think this is subjective. You're going to have to find out why is your employee coming to you and saying that the management needs to go or they're out of there. That could be a sign that there's poor leadership, poor management in place. I think if we're twisting this around to what's going on in some other known businesses or in the sports field, I mean, listen, majority of the time there's going to be an issue with the employee, and that they're the reason that they need to go. But I think you need to dig deeper and find out why is there discord going on in your organization, and why is there even a conversation being had about me or somebody else in the organization needs to go. That's probably a deeper root problem in your business.
Okay, let's go over to Leon.
I want to start off by thanking Kevin Durant for giving us 3 shows worth of content. I mean, this summer he has had so much drama that he's allowed us to have great questions and great content. To RJ's point, if we're assuming that management is handpicked and it's an executive level team, you're going to choose that management team. That's your ride or die. That's who you've had by your side, helping you scale and grow the team, right? Top employees are much easier to train, manage up than finding executive level management talent. It's the same thing that the Nets just did with KD. So thank you, KD, for the content.
Yeah, shout out to Kevin Durant. Let's go over to Eric Brewer.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, one of the things that we got to learn as leaders is that any failure from the team ultimately is our responsibility. So over a period of time, if you have performance or core value issues or problems with players, at the end of the day, it's a leadership problem. So over an extended period of time, if I continue to have issues with, let's say, Kevin Durant, it then becomes a Steve Nash issue, right? If you have a track record of people or players or performers that are unhappy, that want to leave, that are culture problems, at some point it's a leadership issue. So in the beginning, you got to address it with the player or the employee, but over a period of time, it's not corrected. It's 100% the leader's obligation to make it right.
Okay. And let's conclude with Steve Trang. If your top employee, Weasel, has an issue with management, what are you choosing?
Weasel's gone, right? Weasel's got a problem with management. Weasel's gone. It's pretty simple, right? So top players, I think they maybe a little diva-ish, may bring some drama. But for me, I look at it goes mission of the company, then the team members, right? So if we have a problem with a team member or a team member has a problem with management, it's the top player that has to go. And it sucks, right? It sucks to watch top quality talent or high performing talent go out the door. But being good at your job is just one capacity. Social intelligence, emotional intelligence, working with your team members is also an important talent. And we have issues where you can't get along with your teammates, you can't get along with management, you're the problem. And so, yeah, for me, it's easy.
All right. The voting should be opening now in the chat. So everyone that's tuned in, go ahead and place your votes. And gentlemen, the floor is open.
I would tell you one of the best examples I've ever seen of this a few years ago at Collective Genius. They had a gentleman that worked with Patrick Lencioni, and he spent several years in the San Francisco Giants organization. And he was in charge of leadership and culture and player development. And without naming names, he said simply, we had one of, if not the best baseball player of all time. The year after he retired, we won the World Series. Mm. So when you have top talent, but that talent is not aligned with what Steve said, the company's mission, the talent does not make up for the cultural divide that talent will create.
Yeah, I mean there can be at times with the top talent a performance vacuum because this person's taking too many resources, right? Or this person's getting all the accolades, discouraging people, or they could be a tumor or acting cancerous in the office and demotivating people. So you might find that after the top talent, quote unquote top talent leaves, other people rise up and their performance increases dramatically because it was the initial top talent that was holding everyone else back.
That said, I know our answer was strictly about getting rid of the employee versus management. To the other side, there are bad men.
Of course.
We have to evaluate everyone. If there's a track record there with management that needs to be addressed, then we have to address that as well. They're not off boundaries of being fired, right? But if we're assuming the management team is good, then the players have.
What about in the scenario where the player, the employee come in and say, listen, the reason why we're not getting results is because of management. And if you don't make a change in management, I'm out of here.
We work through it. We work through it together. All right, so RJ comes up to me. He's like, hey, Steve, I got to let you know, the management team is just, the crap in the bed. We can do better. Okay, RJ, appreciate that. If you were in my position, what would you do? Right? And then we're going to work through it together. And if we find that the management team isn't getting better and they are the problem, then they've got to go, right? But once it becomes, Steve, it's me or Weasel, like, bye, RJ.
This is the second time you've told me that you would not have me in the organization.
I would have you if you would just drop your expectations and compensation just a tad.
And Steve, don't forget, sharing is caring. He's still on the record saying he would not share bottles in the club with me, and that, as your superstar player, still emotionally disturbs me somewhat.
Yeah.
Voting is open right now. It's actually a very close race between Steve and RJ, so we're going to give a few minutes to go ahead and complete the voting. Any last-second arguments or comments from the panel really quickly before we close the voting?
I think one of the things to consider is that real top talent should have some form of leadership and management ability. One of the things that's grossly overlooked in organizations is leadership does not always go from the top down. And I just had this in an interview with someone that's taking an executive position here. And the reason he was leaving his other job was because of leadership. And my question to him at the very end was, what could you have done differently? How did you end up failing to have the impact that you desired? At your position in the organization, you could have led the leaders down the path of making the change that's required. And all I really wanted for him was to take ownership of it, which he did. He said, you know what, now that I look at it, I failed. I just could not get it done. But that's one thing that I think that people overlook, that if they're really a top talent, they should have some management and leadership. And it's one of the biggest things people talk about between LeBron and Michael Jordan, right? Their ability to lead. That's what separates top talent from what looks like top talent.
Agreed. Great point. Eric, I'm not going to lie. There's a tie right now in the voting between RJ and Steve, and your last point just made me want to give you the point. But I'm not sure if that's how it works. So RJ and Steve are going to split this point, apparently.
You're in control.
I am in control. You know what? Points for Eric Brewer on that one.
If I said RJ,